Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Flex Cortex. Today, I have a returning guest, Jenna Tilbury. So
Hello.
honored that you're back. And today, we're going to be talking about fitness topics that are trending now. And I'm excited for this one. So, to kick this off, to get the ball rolling, I want your take on the Bosu ball. And we're gonna we're gonna do devil's advocate here. We're gonna talk about both sides of it because I think a good educated professional can talk about the reasons to use it and not to use it. So we're gonna talk about the reasons to kill it with fire first, and then we're gonna talk about some of the reasons it can have utility because I think that's a good conversation piece.
Okay, perfect. First of all, thank you for having me back. I'm honored. I want to be on here like once a month.
Sure, yeah, makes it easier for me because I don't have to find guests as often either.
Bosu ball. Yeah. I think it was built for a purpose, but
Let's
I
talk about it.
find that sometimes it's used as a unnecessary um tool to overcomplicate movements.
I agree.
I
Yeah,
believe in just keeping it simple. If it's not broken, don't fix it. And so if you're doing back squats while standing on a Bosu ball, it's a recipe for injury. It's a recipe for like, can you really load a heavy back squat while you're bouncing on a Bosu ball? No.
thank you, thank
So
you.
I mean, if
So
you're using it for that purpose, quite honestly, I think it's kind of dumb. But no, that's dumb. Don't do that.
yeah, yeah, not kind of dumb. Please don't.
I'm
Like,
like, that's dumb.
don't listen to this podcast and then go load a barbell back squat
No.
on a Bosu ball.
It's just like
Yeah.
unnecessarily unsafe.
Yes. Very.
No reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Almost as unsafe as eating pink chicken.
literally, it's like, why would you do that?
It's like a 50-50 chance. Will I get the runs or will I not?
Seven hella.
I was trying to keep it PG-ish.
I know. I saw you. Like, what should I say? But flip side of that, I think if you need to work on proprioception and balance, and you can't say you've progressed from doing
Yeah.
balance work just on a flat surface, then yeah, you can implement unstable surfaces or
Yep.
um,
I
soft
agree.
surfaces to help challenge that more. But again, it's like you're doing that with body weight. You're in a controlled setting. You're not like doing a backflip and then landing on a posted ball. It's like something ridiculous.
Yeah, you're not trying to follow some sort of fitness trending topic idea for a reel that you're trying to implement the Bosu ball into.
Exactly.
Um, so I would agree with a lot of that stuff, and I think the main takeaway here is to progressively overload things. We want to optimize things to a degree, and we want to be as stable as we can for a lot of these things, especially when we're trying to produce force and focus on output. So for something like a back squat, like you mentioned before too, we want to be strong out of the bottom position, and we want to have good foot pressure. We want to make sure that we have a good positioning throughout. And if we're teetering back and forth on a Bosu ball, that's not going to be happening. But you also mentioned a good point too. It's super unsafe because if you're loading up even 135 plus your body weight,
Yeah.
this thing could pop. Like
Yeah.
it's a half ball. So it could pop and you never know what could happen off of that
Or
too.
your
So
ankle just like yeets out of the chat and just says later.
later Gator. Yeah, no, for sure. And it's like you mentioned, I like the point you made there about proprioception because I do think in the case where somebody's rehabbing an injury, which we talked about the rehabbing injuries with the knees last time.
Mm.
So if somebody's coming back from like, let's say it was like an Achilles injury or an ankle injury, and they have minimal foot movement, they have minimal foot or ankle function, then I do think that a Bosu ball can have a place. But hyper specificity. Like it's like such a small percentage, right? And you could also argue that you could get more out of other exercises too. So, unless you're in the circus, so maybe you're on the thing where you roll back and forth on the ball. Sure,
Oh, that thing. I thought you meant the tightrope person.
that too. Maybe that too. So if you're in the circus, ixnay what I'm saying here, guys. But for most of us, we're not. Okay,
No.
so don't act like you are.
No, I know. I remember I saw this man once at the gym. Bless his heart. He was training for something, and he was doing Bulgarian split squats with the barbell on his back.
I'm
So
terrified
barbell
already.
Bulgarian split squats is already very challenging. So that's challenge number one. His
Yeah.
front foot was
Oh
elevated
God.
on the Bosu ball. So instead of like, like there's the flat and then the round part. So he
Yeah.
had it flipped. So the round part was on the ground. So it's teetering and he's got his foot on the flat part. And then, hold on, it gets worse. His back leg is on a Swiss ball, on an exercise ball. So every rep, his front leg is challenged, his back leg is challenged, and he had like 135 on the bar. So I don't know if he chose to do that, if his coach told him to do that. I have no idea. It was an older man. He's been around. I was like, I'm not about to tell you what to do. You nope.
Yeah.
You
He,
have more life experience than me. But
oh God.
I
So
was watching out of the corner of my eye. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's going to hurt himself. And then also, if you're truly trying to do a loaded barbell Bulgarian split squat, that's hard enough on its own. You don't need to throw a bunch
yeah,
of shit in
I
there.
was just about to say, newsflash, guys. Bulgarians are already unstable because you're
Yes.
standing on one leg.
Yeah. It's hard.
So, for context here, I was just covering my eyeballs for people that are listening to this, because this irks me. This hurts me.
Oh,
Um,
I know.
but so for context of this individual, this man, I'm sure he's a great guy.
Sure, he's super cool. It looks cool, but it also looked dangerous. I was like, the coach in me was like,
It's like some superhero shit. Like he's prepping for a
I mean,
movie role or
he
something.
was training to be an assassin, probably. I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to run into him if he's trying to be an assassin for sure.
Mhm.
So for context though, back foot was on a Swiss ball, and then front foot was on the flat side of a Bosu.
So yeah, so both of his points of context, or
Were
sorry, both of
unstable.
his points of contact were unstable. Plus
Oh,
barbell on the back.
wow.
Crazy.
Yeah. So this goes without saying, but do not repeat this.
No,
Yes. So don't.
don't do
Yeah.
that.
Okay. Next trending topic. We kind of discussed it before already. Supplements.
Oh
I
yeah.
think supplements are quite. Again, there's a lot of supplements, and they're constantly putting out new products, and the supplement market is huge, right? Obviously, there's a ton of competitive companies that do very similar products or the same products. So let's talk about supplements, the reasons that they're overrated, but also the utility of them, because I want to talk about devil's advocate for both of these things. But first thing, let's talk about the reasons why they're overrated.
So I learned this a while ago when I was in university. So if anyone wants to fact check me on this, please do it. I wish we had a fact checker here being like, this is true, this is false. But
I can Google it while you
we
talk.
might want to fact check. But I remember in university when I was learning about supplementation, the
Hmm.
supplementation industry, I believe in North America, if it's not in all of North America, it's definitely in Canada, is one of the most unregulated industries in the world. Like, now I'm not saying it's like black market supplements and you're gonna like eat somebody's toe in your pre-workout, but it's like it is. The
Yeah,
supplementation industry is like pretty unregulated, and the basically the hoops you have to jump through to put a product on the market, it's not that hard to do it, and you don't necessarily
yeah,
have to pass you. I can't even remember what the baseline tests are, so I'm kind of butchering this, but if you check it, I'm sure Google will tell you. But there's only like a small amount of metrics that your supplement needs to pass to be able to like be told like it's a supplement and that it's safe for people to ingest.
okay,
So not to frighten anyone, and like I can't imagine people are like shooting steroids into your pre-workout. Who freaking knows? But it is something to be mindful of and to keep in mind. And there are products out there. I believe there's this brand called Cerapure or something like that. It's like at
okay,
Cerapure. And it's like a well-known brand that actually puts your supplements through proper testing to make sure they're safe and like they don't have
yeah,
added fillers and unsafe things or banned substances in them. So anyway, just a caveat before I start talking about this. the supplementation industry is highly unregulated. So just make sure you're always doing your research and really paying attention to what you are buying, the brand that's creating it, the purpose for creating it, what it's meant for. Just
Yeah.
be very mindful. Not that you're not gonna like combust or like get sick or anything. Just there could be a lot of shit in there that you don't really need.
Yeah. Yeah. Just to back up what you're saying here too, it says here they talk about NHPs and NHPs being like natural health product regulations.
Mm.
So I
Hmm.
guess that's for Canada though. So that's the caveat here is like if you are in the States, I think it could be a little bit different. But they do talk about how like a lot of these companies try to go by NHP standards, I guess from what they're saying, but a lot of them just don't.
Yeah,
But they do say here that like NHPs are like guaranteed safe, effective, and high quality.
yeah. I
So
think
in
Serapure might be American. I'm
okay,
not. I can't
yeah,
even remember. It's a long time
but
ago. But just
to back
kind of,
up, yeah, to back up what you're saying too, like I used to compete in powerlifting in like a tested federation, and they made you take like an anti-doping test to teach you about being careful about products that you are taking because a lot of them could have like banned substances in it. And if
yeah,
it came up in a piss test, like let's say you did a competition, you did really well, they went to drug test you, and this came back, that could disqualify you. So you could like, and you could get a like a ban from the federation too. So like when I was competing in
yeah,
powerlifting, it was attached to IPF, and IPF is like International Powerlifting Federation. So like again, like it's big carryover, but it is just a good point to make where it's like if you are taking products, look into the companies, look into the
yeah,
products to know what you're reading. Like when they put like the substance ban on it, like look at those labels and figure out like what this actually means and look through the ingredients. Like just take a look at and see what's
hmm,
actually in it. And ensure that you're getting products that you actually want to be taking. Yeah.
yeah, and won't get you in trouble if you're an athlete and you do get drug tested. Like, pay attention because your pre workout could have something in there that it's not supposed to.
Oh, a
Anyway,
lot, dude, so many of them got like we talked about this like in pregame too, like 365 milligrams of caffeine or like 360, like that's insane, especially for like 16-year-old kids just like dry
yeah,
scooping that and then chasing that with like Monster or something. Like that's wild. That's like so much caffeine.
if your frontal lobe is not developed, so anyone listening to this that's not 25, I don't think you need pre workout. You need a good sleep.
You need a bedtime routine.
You need a bedtime routine. Seriously. Pre workout is one of, I guess we can talk about pre workout. Pre workout is one of my, well, maybe I'm biased. So I'm apparently with caffeine, again, this is something I only know just a little bit about, but
Sure.
apparently with when it comes to caffeine, there are people that are responders and then there are people that are non responders. And I believe that the responders react very negatively to caffeine. For example, I am a responder and caffeine fucks me up. Like I'm like I feel like
Oh, so you're super sensitive to it.
I'm incredibly sensitive to caffeine. My heart
Gotcha.
rate shoots through the roof. I feel anxious all day. My head feels like it's disconnected from my body. I feel like I'm floating. Caffeine
Wow.
does not agree with me. Whereas I know some other people, caffeine's fine. They can have 7 coffees in their day and they're like, I feel great. But keeping in mind, there are daily limits and like upper limits to things like this that you should pay attention to.
So this
And
is a
they're
great
put there
talking
for a
point. Yeah.
reason. Like the
Yeah.
reason people have warnings on things and limits on things is because someone somewhere took too much and got fucked up. So pay attention to, I believe you can just type in like recommended daily allowance for caffeine Canada and it'll
So
take you to,
I actually have a calculation.
oh, do you?
So so yeah, I learned this from a bodybuilding coach.
Cool.
So he was saying 3 milligram to 7 milligram per 1 kilo of body weight.
Okay, so I'm like 64 kilos. What is that? Let's do quick
So
maths.
like 3 being low end, like if you're a little bit more sensitive, and like I think that's kind of targeted towards females, whereas
Yeah.
like 7 could be higher end if you're like a bigger guy. Keep because
Okay.
like well yeah you're a big guy, but she just flexed for those of you listening. And gave me like a blue steel look at the same time. So like, okay, nah, I wasn't throwing shade. But yeah, no. So from what I heard, like 3 milligram to 7. So for myself, it would be like, I think right now I'm like 85. So 3 times 85. So low end of 255.
Yeah, and that's all you should be having in a day.
So yeah, and then keep in mind, guys, most pre-workouts, like the Rise and stuff, have like 350 or
It's too much.
360. So 85 times into 5 now. 425 is like the 5 milligram. And then high end, 595.
That's outrageous. Plus, and this is specific. I guess we're like kind of talking about caffeine now, but anyway, whatever. Because pre-workout's like a massive supplement. Like I know everybody takes pre-workout, unless they're like me. Like,
I also do, but I take a
you take
lower
it?
stim caffeine. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't take it because I feel like itchy. Anyway, that's doesn't
beta
matter.
alanine, alanine.
So pre-workout caffeine. Caffeine has a half-life. I forget what it is. I believe it's like 8 hours, or is it longer?
Yes, I will fact check you 1 second. But
Thanks.
yes, I believe
I'm
it's
throwing facts out there. I'm pretty sure that's what it is, but I could be wrong. So if you go to bed at 10 o'clock and you want to be asleep by 10, your last intake of caffeine should be at 2 p.m.
wow, that's a big range. This is not helpful.
Yes. Yeah,
It
I know.
says it says 1.5 to 9 hours.
I think eight's safe. Let's just say 8 hour half life.
So yes, yeah,
And so
8 hours. So it can be in your system for 8 hours. Yeah.
yeah. So now say you're like you go to bed at 10 o'clock, wake up at 5 a.m.
Yeah, guys.
Your
Yeah.
last intake of caffeine should be at 2 p.m. And how many people do you know that go for a late night work after a 12-hour shift and take their pre-workout, dry scoop it, do that shit, and then they're like wired, and then they have to go to bed? Like you're just, it's not good. Don't do that. Stop doing
And
that.
then they lay there in bed and they're like, "Wow, I can't sleep."
They're like, how will I create world peace? Their like brain is just running. Seriously. So in terms of pre-workout as a supplement, I think do your research, pay attention to
Mm,
what your body's daily limit is for your weight, for your size, and also
agreed.
pay attention to your body's cues. If you're responding horribly and you're itchy and your head feels like it's detached from your body, maybe you should try a different brand or stop taking it.
Yeah. So I'm a morning workout guy. So like I take pre-workout like after I'll have water and I'll have my greens and stuff first, and then I'll take pre. But
Mm,
um I try to cut off caffeine like you mentioned. Depending on the day, like I'd say like latest for me could be like 4.
mhm.
But it's like a coffee. But I will say, like you just said, if I do consume caffeine around like let's say 4, because that's late, then I will find that my um, bedtime gets pushed back.
It does.
So not ideal. Um, and I would say like for most people too, like should we talk about supplements that we recommend?
Yes, we should. But before we talk about that, I feel like there's one more caveat to supplements. Actually, no, we'll talk about that then. Yeah, yeah. Let's talk about supplements we recommend.
Okay, so we're not just gonna shit talk supplements here. We're gonna talk about the benefits of them. Um, so
I
for
would just
somebody,
pre-workout.
yeah. So first, I'd say when it comes to supplements, there's utility. Um, but again, you got to remember that it's a supplement. So it's in the name. It's a supplement. Um, it's only going to be there to fill certain gaps or to bridge certain gaps for people that have trouble getting it in from food. So I like a greens powder because I believe most people aren't going to be getting the vitamins, the minerals, everything that they need, the extracts that they'd be needing from food. So I usually recommend most people that I work with a greens powder because they are going to be getting the electrolytes in there as well. So like a lot of them have magnesium, a lot of them have zinc, a lot of them have even a little bit of sodium, and other ones as well too. I think there's more. Um, there's calcium, but I don't think there's calcium in greens. Um, but again, you're probably not getting all of that normally from food. So unless you're eating a ton of greens every day, which most people that I know do not.
Or not.
And when it comes down to like you get different vitamins from different kinds of vegetables. Like you get like different vitamins from like you get like K and I think A and stuff from like kale and like spinach. Whereas you get like different ones from other kinds of vegetables. And then there's also like fruit extracts, like you get like antioxidants from berries, you get like different stuff from like let's say like pineapple, for example. So that's why I recommend most clients take a greens powder. I'd say like creatine's a safe one to throw out there too, because creatine's one of the highest researched products on the market. There's a lot of research coming out now showing that it helps with um, for cognitive reasons as well. So it actually was shown to actually help with people with preventing dementia, Alzheimer's, and everything as well. But for context, people, there is going to be natural creatine in meat. So there is going to be creatine in chicken, beef, etc. So you're going to be getting a little bit of that already from the food that you currently eat. But I do think that creatine is a nice product to add into the mix. And then generally, the only other product I usually recommend for people is a protein powder. Because if they are on the go frequently, let's say you work a job where you're in sales, you're kind of constantly on the go, or you work out in the morning before work, you rush to work after, it's so convenient, right? You can get an isolate, you can get something a little bit lower on the carb/fat aspect of things, and it's just convenient to bring with you. But again, try to get it from food. That's going to be the best bet, I would say. But I would say, like, generally speaking, for me, those are kind of the only three products I usually recommend. Just because for the most part, you can get most things that you need from food.
You can.
Um, and pre-workout I take, but I would not say pre-workout is an essential one. Like Jenna mentioned, if it makes you feel like your head is going to explode, or if it makes you feel like you have bugs in your skin and you don't like that, then maybe don't.
Yes.
But what's your take?
Well, so okay, you're gonna laugh at me. I am kind of weird, and I am
I think we
I
both
like
are.
I like hate medicine. Okay, hold on. Sorry, let me rephrase that. I think medicine is great. It has helped humans live longer than we've ever lived in years. But I myself, like, if I'm sick and if I don't need to take medicine for something, I won't. I'll just like,
Oh, you're one of those people.
slightly. I don't know
Okay, I
why.
got you.
I'm just like anything that my body isn't already producing or hasn't come, like it's not in its natural form. I like don't
Yeah,
always. I feel weird taking it, although I know it's there to help. Supplements were built to like obviously they're created for a purpose.
of course.
But really, the only supplement I have ever used is protein powder, and that's one I use consistently, and I actually don't even really use it anymore because I haven't been able to find a really good one that doesn't upset my stomach, which I find is an issue for quite a few people.
Okay.
But actually I have used greens powder, which I did like, but then I just started eating more vegetables and didn't feel like I needed it anymore. Pre-workout I've used a few times and I was like, my skin is itchy from the inside out. So don't do that anymore. I've actually never taken creatine, and I see that being something I actually will incorporate into my stack this year. Because I've heard about like the phenomenal training benefits. I myself have just never used it because I just never felt a need to use it. And I think that's the thing too is with supplements is people are like, oh, should I take BCA? Should I do this? Should I do that? And it's like, are you eating 3 meals a day? Oh no, I have coffee in the morning and then toast, and then like I don't eat again until 9 p.m. at night. And I have like McDonald's or something. And I'm like, then no, you should not be having supplements. Because
Yeah,
supplements, like you said, it's in the name. They are meant to supplement, in my opinion, an already pretty good diet. So if you're having 3 meals a day and a
agreed.
snack, paying attention to your calorie intake, you're eating enough to sustain your body's like maintenance, you are hitting your macros, and you're getting most of your nutritional needs through food, then I think of maybe, I don't know, maybe you got some blood work done and you're deficient in a few vitamins and minerals. Sure, throw in a greens powder. It's convenient. It's a great way to get it in. Makes your tummy feel better. Maybe it helps digestion. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
Protein powder is probably the one I like recommend the most, as long as it doesn't cause any like stomach upset.
yeah,
Mainly for convenience sake, because I've been fucking busy. You don't feel like eating another meal of protein, so you drink it instead, which is a great way to get it in.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, similar to you, I don't think there's any supplements that are essential other than a couple vitamins. Oh, there was one I was going to mention, omega 3s.
Yes, that's a good one. Yeah, yeah,
Are you an
yeah.
omega 3 guy?
So I eat a lot of salmon.
Oh, great. So you eat enough fish. Yeah. So that was kind of like the only one I would add to it. I'm actually looking, I took a course on like supplements because I was getting so many questions about them. So I'm actually just looking at that again. And there's like three categories: there's essential, recommended, and optional. The only things I see that are essential for supplements is fish oil, so omega 3s.
Yeah.
Vitamin D, especially in North America, especially in
Yeah.
Canada, because we don't get sun near, well, we get sun, but just not like to the same degree as other climates.
Yeah.
Magnesium and
Oh
vitamin
yes, of
C.
course.
So those are
Of
the four
course.
that I see as like actually essential that you need for health. But if you take a daily multivitamin, you're gonna get all that anyway. And then pop an omega-3, you're good to go.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think like this is a good conversation to be had too, because there's just so many products and I get constantly asked when people come into it, like, should I be taking, especially from guys, like, should I be taking like this natural test booster?
Yeah.
Should I
Fat
be take
burners.
yeah, should I be taking these fat burners? Should I be taking BCAs? Should I be taking this stuff? So like BCAs, I think are like the market's biggest gimmick. Like amino acids are in protein. So if you eat enough protein, you're gonna be fine. Again, for most people, like if they do, like if you just like BCAs, if you like having it to drink and it helps you train, you enjoy that whole part of it, then sure, I guess why not? But I would sooner suggest somebody put that money that they're going to put into BCAs into various protein products to have at home. Like, is if you're thinking like your average like BCA product is probably fairly expensive, but you could be putting that towards like maybe you want to put it towards fish, maybe you want to put it towards other stuff that you just have at home that you can just eat. Because most of the time, like you mentioned earlier on, are you eating the right amount of food per day? Are you tracking your food? Or are you at least trying to be more conscientious of what you're eating?
Mhm.
If not, like I wouldn't focus too much on like the small rocks. Like focus on just like again, meal timing, consistency, and actually like
Yeah.
getting all of your macros in from food.
Like actually eat food and then take a look at what needs to change.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
Just to touch back on BCAs, actually, again, like I'm not like a supplement genius, but from what I have learned, is BCAAs have really actually only been studied in like elite high performance athletes. So the data shown for BCAA like efficacy and like how well it works is actually mainly based on like elite athletes such as like sprinters, speed athletes, lifting athletes, so like power lifters, Olympic lifters, stuff like that. And it has actually been shown to delay the onset of fatigue so that there's like more time before you get exhausted. So it's like kind of
Yeah.
like a little bit of like what creatine does, but like not exactly the same. But in terms of like if you're just someone who trains for health and fitness, I'm not sure it's going to be worth the investment to like enhance performance if that's why you're having it. And I've also read that unless you're a vegan or vegetarian, it's like someone that doesn't eat meat, then you actually don't really need them. Like if you eat, like you already mentioned, if you eat enough meat in your diet, you're probably okay to not have them.
Yeah. And it's just one of those I think products that they try to market as like this recovery product. And like
Yeah,
it I think it often does help some people, but I think the nuance within that is it's likely because their protein intake is already low.
exactly.
So, like, if their protein intake is low, then they're taking a product to like post workout or like intra workout. Then I'm not surprised that there is going to be some recovery
Yeah,
components to it that are improving because they're already deficient in their protein intake.
exactly. So, like we both said, it's meant to supplement an already pretty awesome diet. Plus, if you don't need to spend extra money on a product that you don't need, like why spend that money? Like put that money into, I don't know, getting a sports massage so your muscles don't hurt, or
Yeah,
going to a
yeah,
yoga class and like practicing relaxation techniques to get better recovery. You know, like put that
or
money
save it.
elsewhere.
Yeah, yeah,
Especially because you don't need it. What else was I gonna say? Oh, that's another thing too that I think is just crazy in the fitness world and pretty much everything. Everybody's trying to sell you something. Supplement companies are a business. They gotta make money, and I get it. They gotta push their product. They gotta make it sound exciting and like life changing and like this one supplement will change your life. Like obviously they need to market their products in that way so that people buy them. But if it comes down to actual health and necessity, 9 times out of 10, you probably don't really need it.
yeah, yeah. No, and I think that's like a great talking point, just because it's like you mentioned earlier on, you can't just be taking supplements and think that's just going to fix your life because
No.
you don't eat enough food. So
or
For
don't get
everybody, it's
enough
just
sleep.
yeah, and they think, like you mentioned before with the pre-workout thing, it's like a lot of people think that they could just get 4 to 5 hours of sleep a night and that they are like fine, and then they just take like a super high stim pre-workout in the morning and they get through it. But like, it's not sustainable. You're gonna hit a wall. You're gonna hit a wall hard, and a lot of, again, to kind of quickly touch upon what I know from test boosters too is like, so don't like, again, this is just from my own experience as well, is there's a lot of natural ways to just like increase testosterone production, like sleeping properly, eating enough food, having a bit of a routine, having a bit of a structure, being active, right? Like more ways where it's just like kind of just implements directly into working out. That will just, like, from what I've seen and from what I've heard, will naturally increase your testosterone production. Obviously, there's going to be times in certain scenarios where maybe it's unique and you have to go see your doctor for whatever it may be. But I wouldn't say that you have to resort to taking like this store-bought test booster. Like, just try focusing on external variables first and focusing more on like things that you can do to improve your overall production. Or worst case scenario, go talk to your doctor and see if there's something going on like hormonally that you don't know about.
Yeah, if maybe your test is too low. So for men, actually, their daily test cycle, it's the highest after 3 points. So men's test is highest in the morning, and then it dips, and then it peaks again in the afternoon, and then it pretty much after the afternoon it peaks back down until you go to bed, and then it's high again in the morning. But the third way you can get a test boost is through working out. Now I don't know how this applies to women. I should know this, but I actually don't know how testosterone fluctuates throughout a woman in a day, let alone in a month. I know it's like different with their menstrual cycles.
Yeah.
But for men, their 24-hour test cycle boosts in the morning, drops down, peaks again in the afternoon, and then drops down throughout the rest of the day. So if you're a man trying to naturally boost your testosterone levels, try to, if your schedule allows for it, try to pair your workout with in the morning or in the afternoon, to like now you're getting like a double whammy test boost, and you're like capitalizing on, yeah, literally. But then you're like capitalizing on um the like extra strength and um like this, like the training benefits that testosterone gives you can capitalize on them when your testosterone's already at a naturally higher state.
So there's your test booster.
That's one of the ways. Also
Yeah.
having good sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like, it's funny because we could probably talk about it anyways too, but we're in such a time frame where we want to like optimize everything. And we're kind of like in this weird like biohacking phase where we want to like just do everything optimally and everything. And like, I hate the word biohacking because it's just
I
like,
don't like it. Makes my
it's an
tummy feel icky.
it is an ick word. I was actually going to say it's an ick word.
It's an ick.
Um, but like, it's the same thing with this too. It's like people want to try to biohack their test. It's like, well, yeah, I don't know.
Should we talk about biohacking? That buzzword?
Let's do it.
So I don't want to speak too much on something I don't know too much about. In terms of biohacking, I don't know fully like the ins and outs of what that even means. But the word just sounds like it's like a ploy to prey on vulnerable people that want to optimize their health. And it's like someone trying to sell you a
Yeah.
product, and then you're like, oh, this will help me. And I'm just like, it might help, but there's just, like I said earlier with the Bosu ball thing, if it's not broken, don't fix it. No one, like, the health industry has been around for a long time. Seriously, not even me and Bryce. Nobody is reinventing the wheel. Everything we are teaching has been known for years, with like, there's probably like new things being made, whatever.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's like nothing's crazy, nothing new is being built, and the basics are the basics for a reason. So when it comes to biohacking and like, I don't know, supplement with this and this at this time, so then this happens. Like, fuck, who has the time and energy to do that? Anytime you're adding something to your life, think about 70-year-old you, and if you're going to be able to do that when you're 70. If the answer is no, then you probably shouldn't be adding it in. And that goes with
So
anything. That goes with anything. Supplements, new workout regimen, new food, whatever it is. If you can't do it when you're 70, you probably shouldn't be doing it now.
I agree. Yeah. And just for more context for people too, like they say here, like the kind of the example of biohacking
Yeah.
would just be like there could be various forms of biohacking, specifically kind of tied into like diet and nutrition. Like a popular one or example would be like intermittent fasting.
Mm.
So like that, just to kind of give like a good example, is you're trying to optimize a certain eating window in the thoughts that you're going to be targeting more fat loss through the remainder of the time just because you're not eating a certain period of time through the day. So I think the whole idea here too is like, and we touched upon it earlier too, is to not focus on the small rocks too much. Because I think the most common thing is like a lot of people just need to move more, they need to sleep more, they need to eat more food, and they need to drink more water.
Seriously.
So if you are coming into this and you don't do those things currently, or those things are currently lacking, focus on getting into a routine first before trying to go on like I love Huberman, but like trying to go on like Huberman Lab and like trying to like optimize light exposure, trying to optimize like this certain prefrontal cortex stuff at like a certain time of the day. And like again, I love Andrew Huberman and I love this movement of people trying to focus on their health. I think it's amazing. But I think the issue that lies here is we almost try to focus on things too much that it kind of taps into this whole paralysis by analysis thing because we're almost waiting until things are perfect to take action.
No such thing.
And there is no such thing. I made a post recently about the idea of messy action. And like sometimes, I use this analogy lots,
Mm.
you have to jump off the cliff and build the plane on the way down. And the whole point of that is sometimes you just have to start and figure it out as you go. And sometimes the action might look messy in theory. It might not be very clean. It might not look like it's super strategic. But again, like we don't want to spend too much time just trying to optimize or biohack these things, right? Oh god, the word biohack. Um, and like again, there's the take the ideas or these concepts of biohacking and try to understand what they mean. Like look at the research, look at these videos that are being posted and try to understand like, well, what is this thing that someone's doing trying to accomplish? And just understand the nuance and understand the rationale behind it. I think if you're able to understand these things more, it provides some more light to it and it makes more sense versus trying to just follow something without much context. Because if you follow something without much context, you don't know the rhyme or reason why you're actually trying to do it.
I like that. And I think the other thing too with like biohacking and optimization and all these things, at the end of the day, there's people out there who are doing research, trying things, testing things out for everyone else to like draw from, with the end goal being to feel better, which is the
Yeah.
biggest thing. And I could never be mad at someone for creating a system or an idea or a product that makes you feel better. Too many people on earth are overweight, out of
Yeah.
shape,
Yeah.
stressed, underfed, and you feel like shit. But I'm telling you right now, getting your morning sunlight isn't going to help you lose 10 pounds. Like,
No.
especially if you eat once a day, you're stressed as fuck. You don't move your body. Like, I don't think
Yeah.
it matters
Yeah.
when you get sun exposure. You need to focus on a couple other things first before that
Yeah.
thing you focus
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. And like there's so much nuance to this, right? Like again, we live in a place and we just had this talk like pregame where it's like it's dark till like 8 in the morning. So if you work at like
6
seven
a.m.
o'clock
Yeah.
or 6 a.m., it's like how can you go get your sunlight exposure before from like a natural light source before you go to work?
I know, like, it's just not possible for some people.
No, so like that's why it's like again, I think again, just so everybody knows, I love the movement. I think
Yes.
Andrew Huberman is amazing. I love what like again that there's such a big heavy focus right now on health
Yeah, I
and
think it's
health and fitness.
that people
Yeah,
want to optimize their health. That is nothing wrong with that. That's a good thing.
but I think devil's advocate is people use it as a shortcut.
Yeah.
and it's not. It's kind of like a supplement. It already amplifies what you're already doing. So, like, you can't just think that, like what Jenna said, that you're just going to miraculously lose 10 pounds because you're doing cold plunges or you're doing this or this or this, right?
Doesn't work like that.
It's like no, you have to still be working out, you have to be eating the right food, you have to be drinking the right amount of water, you have to be actually like trying to change your lifestyle. And then maybe you add something like that in to try to, in a sense, like supplement or just add to what you're already doing. It
Hmm.
should just be adding value to what you're currently already doing in your life, not
Exactly.
being something that you lean heavily on to change your life.
Hmm. And that's the whole thing with like supplements, biohacking, whatever. Bosu balls, I guess we could even lump that in. Is people use tools as a crutch,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a piece of the puzzle, but it's not the whole thing. It's not the whole puzzle. And you can't expect one singular piece to be like the groundbreaking change in your life. It's a
Right.
multitude of many different pieces, and there's a couple other, like you said, don't worry about or throwing small rocks. What did you say about rocks?
Oh, I said don't worry about the small rocks, focus on the big rocks.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
yeah.
There's some other
Big rocks being like being more active, hitting your step count goal, drinking water,
eating more food.
eating more food. Yeah, that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And I think those simple things, it's not sexy to sell that. Like when you're
No,
like,
of course
oh
not.
yeah, I get 8 hours of sleep a night. Someone's like, the fuck? And then instead you're like, get a grounding blanket. It'll help you have a better sleep. Then they're like, oh, okay, now. Like, I'm not sure you really need a grounding blanket, maybe once your sleep's better. But just like things like that, it's just it's like what's that saying? Like it's like a smoke screen. Like it's not,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just like these fancy shiny things they're throwing at you when the bottom line is just get a better sleep, like work on your sleep routine. Anyway,
yeah,
I talk about
yeah,
that for hours, but that's the gist of it. There's some key components to health that need to be honed in on first before supplementing, biohacking, optimization is even a thought. I
yeah.
think really.
Just and yeah, I think the big takeaway here is just like focus on the compounding things, focus on the big rocks, focus on the stuff that matters on a daily, weekly, monthly basis,
Hmm.
stuff that you can build on, stuff that you can actually control. And then once you get to a point where like you need these minute specificity of these things, then maybe you look into it. You look into what it actually entails, what it means, the importance that it could actually add to your life and the value it could add. And
Hmm.
then you look into doing it for yourself, right?
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that like again, I know there's a lot of contradicting research with cold plunges, but I know a lot of people that do it just for the mental sake because like the idea of like hopping into a cold plunge is like terrifying and they don't want to do it. So I think that if you're wanting to utilize it as a thing that you just don't want to do but you're forcing yourself to do that, I think it's actually a great thing to do because people need to do more things that they don't want to do on a daily basis more frequently.
I think that comes down to also doing hard things.
Yeah.
The best way to get better at doing hard things is to do more hard things. Like running a marathon's not easy, but the more you run it, the better you get at doing it. And I think it all ties into like mental toughness, self confidence, uh, keeping the promises that you make to yourself. It
Yeah.
ties into motivation and consistency and discipline. And people are always like, "Oh, I need to be more motivated." Blah blah blah. I think we both know motivation's bullshit. It doesn't exist. But the more you're able to do something that's uncomfortable and to like tell yourself, "I'm going to do this thing that I don't want to do, but I'm going to do it anyway." The more you do that, the more you trust yourself, the more you become that type of person who says what they're going to do and does it with full effort. And if anything, it's a mindset tool. Like cold
1000%.
plunges,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
could think about like David Goggins, who's like on the extreme end of this. Like that guy's mental toughness is crazy. And not sure it's like healthy for everyone to pursue that, but it seems to work for him. But
Yeah.
he is like on
Yeah.
the extreme side of like serious mental toughness. Like that man, his mindset is like impenetrable. Like he's like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get this done, which is crazy. And it just, if anything, it's a testament to a human body's ability to sustain challenges and hard things, which ties
Yeah.
into things beyond health. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, you
1,000%.
experience, I don't know, like a tragic loss in your family, God forbid people have to deal with that. But like something like that, you're built, you've trained yourself to push through hard times, which I think is the biggest thing about cold plunges and stuff like that, that like build mental toughness and resilience.
I think the most important promise to keep is the one to yourself.
Yeah.
If you can't keep a promise to yourself, then you're like truly letting yourself down, and that your word means nothing to you, which I think
Mhm.
is the saddest thing to think about, because if you can't keep your word to yourself, then you can't get anywhere in life. And like, I think, what we're talking about here is really important too, because people need to remember that motivation is super extrinsic. Super extrinsic. Like, it could be driven by something you see, something you hear,
Mhm.
um, something you feel. You could put on a piece of clothing, which is technically extrinsic, and you could feel motivated all of a sudden
Yeah.
because you put a piece of clothing on. But like, what is truly important is, like you mentioned, it's discipline. Discipline is something that is super, super intrinsic. It's tied to your values. It's tied to your why. There's an emotional concept of that too. Not that there isn't with motivation as well, but discipline is what people focus on to stay accountable, and what actually allows people to adhere to something long term is the discipline component of it, because motivation is going to be teetering, and it's going to be one of those things that's going to change day to day. There's going to be days and like weeks where like motivation's sky high, like, and like New Year's, perfect example, right?
Yep.
It's New Year's, everyone's like 2025 is going to be my year, like, and then motivation is like hot out the gate. It's super high, it's crazy. But it's like, well, motivation like that is not sustainable, because you're going to have life's going to throw shit at you. You're going to have some stuff with work, you're going to have some stuff with family, you're going to have your priorities be shifted a little bit too. And it's a matter of like, can you actually hold that promise to yourself and be disciplined enough to actually like adhere and stick with the plan, because that's what really matters. It's not
Hmm.
how fast can you get motivated again, but like, how long can you stay disciplined to it.
Yeah. And how long can you show up, or how often can you show up when it's the last thing you want to do?
Yeah, and I'm sure you get asked the question a lot too, where it's like, how do you stay so consistent? I get asked that like super frequently, and I get asked that with like the gym, new hobbies that I pick up, whatever it may be. People are like, how are you so consistent? And like, it's such an open-ended question, because there's so much to it, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of it is like discipline.
Seriously.
A lot of it is like scheduling things. A lot of it is finding out when it works best for you and just
Hmm.
doing it, because for the first while you're not going to want to.
I think another thing too, when it comes to consistency and kind of this whole topic, and I'm gonna full circle this back to the cold plunge thing. Just
Yeah,
wait.
I'm ready for it.
Is like the biggest thing is you become the person that never misses a workout. You become the person that goes to bed on time when it's ideal for their body. You become the person that wakes up when they say they're going to wake up. You become the person that never misses a workout, never misses a recovery day. They train hard. Like you just become that person. Being consistent is ingrained in your inner being. And then
Yeah,
full circling moment this back to cold plunges or just like stuff like that. Like, are they beneficial to your health? Yes, they have some benefits that help you. But at the end of the day, you're putting yourself through something very uncomfortable, and you're reinforcing the idea within yourself that I am the kind of person that does hard things and can withstand challenges. Like that's what all of that is. That's what consistency is. That's what all of it is like you doing these. So like does it help your health? Like technically in a roundabout way, yes, but it's more so the mental aspect of saying you're going to do something and following through on it and always doing that. And you're just reinforcing that narrative that this is the type of person I am and I'm always going to behave that way.
I have nothing else to add to that. You wrapped
I was like,
you
I'm going
wrapped
to
it.
bring this back to the cold plunges.
Yeah, yeah.
Wait.
You wrapped it up with a bow tie and perfectly fucking sent it off. So I can't say anything else. So we'll move on. Okay, so last topic: functional fitness.
Sorry, I just, I don't know.
um, okay, so it's kind of a buzzword, right? And it's definitely one of those things that's not as big now. I think it was bigger kind of more like 10 years ago. I would say like 2015, but it is still one of those things that's still used in a lot of promotional content for like people trying to get people into training, right? Like we're going to improve your functional fitness. And yeah, I just,
Laughing. Sorry.
no, you're good. It's kind of one of those topics. So first of all, we're going to talk about the 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 reasons why the idea of functional fitness is kind of stupid.
Stupid.
Um,
You can say
yeah,
it. Stupid.
yeah, it's not kind of stupid. It is stupid. And then where I think they're trying to get the point across. So I think that's important to also talk about too. Is like again where we kind of get lost in the weeds and like we get lost in this idea of like what is functional fitness and that it's like this separate subcategory when it's absolutely not. Um, and what they're trying to actually like instill into people.
Yeah.
So I can go first if you want, or you can go first. It's up to you.
I can go. I'm excited. I have a lot to say about
Okay,
it.
let's hit it. Yeah, let's do it.
So, first of all, I believe to my knowledge, the word was created as a way to motivate people to be more involved in training. And at the end of the day, I can never be mad at that. More people come to the gym to move their bodies. What the heck? Of course I'm happy about that. Like, let's get moving. That's a win. But in terms of the word functional training or functional fitness, like what the fuck does that even like what is that? Like I want to ask anyone that's listening right now, do you like look in the mirror and ask yourself, do I know what functional fitness is? I don't know what functional I have no idea what that means.
If you have a good idea of what it is, message one of us,
Yes, please. Because
please.
I have been coaching, I've been in the fitness industry since I was like 14. I have no idea what that means. But what I can guess,
Do you want the Google definition?
yeah, let's see what Google says it means.
It says for those of you that are listening, I'm air quoting. Functional fitness is a type of exercise that supports and mimics your everyday life.
Yeah. So you could even pair this with like sports specific training. It's just
Ooh,
like
that's another
people,
that's another
yeah,
one.
that's maybe a conversation for another day. There's time and place for it.
Of
Excuse me.
course.
So functional training, in my mind, it was like I don't know the full, birth of the fitness world and how it came to be. But to my knowledge, I think people are a lot of like there's so many myths about training, like, oh, lifting weights stunts your growth and if you're a woman and you lift heavy, you're gonna turn into a man. Like there's so many things. I think this word was created to like allow people to kind of drop the fear and resistance to training because they're thinking like when do you ever put a barbell on your back and squat in real life? You don't, like, you seriously don't, unless I don't know, maybe you're working a warehouse and you lift things over your head in a squat position. I don't fucking know. But like when you really do those movements that are specific to the gym, you don't. But when you like get in and out of a seated position multiple times a day, when you sit down in a chair and get up, when you go to the bathroom, when you sit down for a meeting, like you do that movement so many times in a day. And then it's just a great way, like think about like elderly people and think about your grandparents. How hard is it for them to get in and out of a chair? Very, very challenging. So I think this functional fitness word is like a buzzword to inspire people to, I guess it's a way to like connect how training in the gym has lots of carryover and crossover into daily life. It's just in a different way.
Mm,
I don't know if I explained
yes,
that very good.
you did. No, you hit it on the head. Yeah. Um, I think we kind of get lost in the weeds with it. So, newsflash for people that aren't aware: training improves your function.
Yes.
So you don't need to be doing functional fitness. You could just train, because training will improve your function. So, when we're looking at a functional human being, right? We need to be looking at the shoulders, the hips, the knees, right? Looking at breathing mechanics, looking at everything, right? Gait cycle, what improves gait cycle, right? Um, so when we're thinking about training in general, do these things have direct carryover and tie into these things? They should. So then in turn, you are improving function, right? So that is in turn functional fitness. I'm air quoting again. So when someone, I'm sure they brought this in to try to get people to like buy into it too, right? Because then they could have these group classes. Oh God. you around functional fitness, right? Improve your function in fucking 12 weeks.
Like,
Or else I'm holding a fake sphere. I don't know why. I'm like holding a ball, I guess. I don't know. Anyways. So yeah, improve your fucking fitness and shit in 12 weeks. Or they'll be like, hey, buy this functional training program. Oh God. Okay. Yeah. So no. First of all, no. Second of all, just work out. Have a program made to you specifically that keeps in mind your movement deficiencies, your injuries, your goals, right? Your limitations, and that will improve your function.
yeah.
Function is crucial for life, for quality of life. And I love the point that you made there too about elderly people, because bone mineral density does a very steep decrease as time goes on. And
Mhm.
training in general will improve that. It'll keep that up and it'll improve that. So that's super, super important. And we can't even talk about all the benefits of working out right now, but
Oh,
there
there's a
are there are numerous benefits. So the big takeaway point here is just focus on training, not trying to get caught in this whole loophole of functional fitness or getting caught in these buzzwords and thinking that you have to follow a certain program to improve
no,
so and so.
no.
It's just work out, find a program that's
Seriously,
good for you,
move
or
your
have
body.
something tailored and do that.
Yeah, focus on the 5 fundamental movement patterns. Squat, was
Yeah,
it squat, hinge, carry? I don't even know what they all are.
push pull.
Push pull. Like, make sure
And
you're.
I throw core in there too. So I think it's
Yeah.
like, for me, it's like, because I know, even sure you could probably attest to this too. It's like, do we have good core stability and function? Right?
Mhm,
Are we good at squatting, whether it be unilateral or bilateral?
mhm.
Are we good at hinging, bilateral, unilateral? Are we good at pressing, bilateral, unilateral, and pulling?
Yeah, like if your
What, five
program has
things?
all those things and you work on your cardiovascular system 2 to 3 times a week, that's functional air quotations. Like I
Functional is anything that you can actually see improvements in your life.
that helps you. Yeah, exactly. That helps you move better, that helps you be in less pain, that helps you be fitter. You can go up and down the stairs without running out of breath. And just
Yeah,
if you're wondering, oh, okay, what would be a functional program for me or a functional exercise for me? Think about what you do in a day. If you are someone who has to go up and down a lot of stairs, think about that movement in and of itself. It's like resembles like a single leg step down on the way down, and it resembles a single leg step up on the way up. So that is probably a movement you should put into your programming, not to
yeah.
mention some type of bilateral squat or bilateral pull from like a lower body pull will be beneficial as well. So, and yeah, the word functional is just kind of bullshit. Don't just think about what you need in a day in or what you lack and what you need to
Yeah,
work on or where your gaps are in your life,
yeah.
and then bring more of that into your training so you can get better at it.
And this kind of goes full circle with what we just discussed too about the biohacking and stuff and like the optimization route, because this is very much a similar concept of that as well too. They want to almost categorize this functional fitness concept and have it into this optimization or this biohacking specific area where they think that you could just follow a specific program to improve your function.
Hmm.
But end of the day, it's like, can you hip hinge, right? Can you squat? Can you press? Can you pull? And is your core stable? And is it strong?
Seriously. And if you think you can make any diet plan, any training program, any like if you think you can make any of these things absolutely perfect, perfect means 100%, no mistakes, can always adhere to it. If you think you can make any of these things perfect, sorry to burst your bubble, you can't. You can there's things that happen in a day, in a week, in a month, in a year that are so outside of your control for us to think that we can actually 100% optimize and biohack and fully function some program that's going to be absolutely perfect and never have error. It's just so flawed to think that way. There's going to be mistakes, there's going to be gaps that you miss, and there's going to be seasons in your life where you focus more on some things than other areas. So eventually, one day, eventually you've hit all the boxes that you want to hit, but it's very rare that you're going to be able to hit all of them in a single month with a single program. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, it's kind of the whole human experience.
Yeah.
Like, your priorities will shift, your life will change, your obligations will change, and
Mm-hmm.
like the ability that you can train now, that may just change as time goes on. And that's okay too, right? Like if you have more time now, you could be in the gym more frequently now, but then life changes. Let's say you have kids, you get married, whatever, and you have to dial it back. Like that's not a bad thing. That just means that your
No.
life has changed and
Yeah.
you have to alter the plan accordingly. And it's like that's where like our job comes in, as coaches. It's like, hey, you're not 16 anymore. You can't go work out, hit arms with your bros, and then go play COD till bedtime. So yeah, speaking from experience. And then like you have obligations, responsibilities now, you are an adult. And it's like you can't go to the gym as frequently now. So that's when you make a plan specifically tailored to this individual. It's like, well, what is realistic for you? How many days a week can you get to the gym? And like
Yeah.
actually, like we talked about earlier too, adhere to that, be consistent and be disciplined enough to actually do it on a regular basis.
Yeah. Be the person you want to become. Behave that way. Like, that's honestly kind of like the gist of this whole conversation is like all these myths and things that are thrown. Also, I'm so sorry, my dishwasher is on. I don't know if you can hear that in the background.
I can't. At some point I heard like the
Like draining right now. Like, so sorry to the listeners. Just squeaking dishes.
Oh, it's all good.
Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. Yeah, sorry. The whole like thing about this is like all these myths. People are gonna like everyone's trying to sell you a product. That's how businesses make money. Everyone's trying to, say they got the next best thing, whatever, whatever, whatever. At the end of the day, it comes down to like what does health look like and mean to you? And what do you need
Yeah.
to do every single day to be your personal definition of health? That's honestly
Yeah.
the gist of this conversation. Seriously. I think at least, unless you want to add something to that.
No, it's like it's very much so like get clear on your why.
Yeah.
Get clear on what fitness and health kind of embodies and means to you. And that in its own will give you clarity on what your actions need to be on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Because
And
like, yeah,
I was gonna say, and which of these myths actually will benefit you?
yes, and not just following something because you see it as a trend online.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to ensure that there is some more of a thought process behind why you're trying to implement something. And like do some research. Like the internet is incredible but also awful. So, like look something up, like Google something, do some research, look at some trusted sources, get some understanding of it too. Like you want to learn more about something, no better way than to learn from a professional that has spent time, spending a lot of their career researching a said topic.
Mm-hmm. And don't neglect the power of asking what and asking why when it comes to any of your goals. It's like, what is this and why do I think I need this? Or what is this and why does it work? Or what is it claiming to do? Does this serve me? Why do I feel that it does? Like, ask yourself those questions, ask these brands those questions, ask us coaches these questions. And if the answer is not clear and conducive to your growth and your health, then you probably don't need it.
Yeah. And it's okay to ask these questions too. And I wouldn't feel like you shouldn't be able to. And I think any good coach is more than happy to explain their thought process as to why they're giving you something to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then also too, if you don't get like a good answer from a coach, maybe find a new coach. Um, yeah, yeah.
Bryce answers the questions very well, just letting everyone know. Great coach.
Thank you. So does Jenna.
Thank you.
That's why you're a repeat guest.
Thanks.
But that's honestly it. That's all the questions I had for you today. This was a pleasure as usual. We covered a lot of really important things here, and I think this is important for anybody getting into health and fitness, maybe starting this year, or for somebody that's just trying to like optimize things. We'll say that.
I knew you were going to say that.
I think broadly optimize things.
Be
So
better.
just focus on the fundamentals, focus on the basics, getting good at these things and progressing these things as time goes on. And then when it's necessary, get more specific with your approach.
Mm-hmm. Don't be afraid to ask what is it that you feel you need more of and why, because it gives you even more clarity on if that's the right new technique or supplement or diet to incorporate into your lifestyle.
Agreed. So you're good shit. So for people that want to follow you, see all your content, see everything about you, where can they follow you and everything?
You can follow me on Instagram. I'm not on any other platform, but I see a YouTube coming in the near future. So anyone that's going to be following me from this, thank you, love you. I really appreciate your support literally all the time. But right now I'm just on Instagram. My username is Jen, Jent fit _ that's me helping manage women's pain with their knees. So if that's you and you really like today, please follow me.
Jenna's stuff is awesome. Shoot her a
Thank you.
follow. Thank you for your time today. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, this is great. We could talk about this for another hour.
I know we could. We'll leave it for future episodes.
Yes.
All
Can't
right,
give
thank you
all the
guys.
goodies.
No, thank you guys.
Thank you.